So you run a company. Let's say you sell picture frames. You built this business from the ground up, you offer your local community jobs, things are going great until one day, a certain senator bought one of your picture frames. And when he hung it up, it fell on his toe, putting him into the fetal position. Resentful against your picture frame company, after all, he is a noble, prestigious US senator, he has his staffers draft up a bill that would effectively put you out of business. Eventually, word gets back to you about this new bill. You read the bill online and panic. Is this the end of the business you worked so hard to create? Well, when the government threatens your business like this, you have 4 options. Number 1, you can curl up in the fetal position like the senator and hope it goes away. Number 2, you can throw your hands up in the air and say, oh well, I guess I'll just close up shop, you're all fired. Number 3, you can move to Capitol Hill yourself to rant and rave to anyone willing to listen about how this bill is a terrible idea. Or you have option number 4. You can focus on what you do best, making picture frames, and hire a lobbyist in DC to do the work for you. Although curling up in the fetal position does sound appealing, you decide to go with option number 4. So what kind of lobbyist are you going to hire? Are you going to hire the dry, bland, by-the-book, nerdy lobbyist that no one in DC is excited to see or talk to? How about the lobbyist that has a buddy-buddy relationship with the senator going after you? They play golf together, they're on a first-name basis with each other? That sounds like a much better option. So boom, you just turned into a special interest group that just hired their first lobbyist. Although this is a ridiculous example, this whole process is exactly why lobbying has grown into a $3.5 billion industry. An industry that people perceive to be as slimy as it gets, second only to the politicians they legally bribe. So how does this world of legal bribes work? Let's find out.
Lobbying is about foresight, about anticipating your opponent's moves.
Congress is completely for sale.
Now, if you're a business owner that's getting picked on by the government, or you're just looking to collect those fat paychecks as a lobbyist, or you're the kind of person that watches videos like this, you're obviously an ambitious, hard-working person. And as someone who has big goals when you're working all the time, it's hard not to eat like a pig and work out. The problem with people like us is that no matter the goals we accomplish, if we're unhealthy, don't have any energy, or we end up dying early, none of this matters. But fear not, because I have the solution. Built Bar. Built Bars are by far the best tasting protein bars out there, and this is coming from personal experience. Instead of tasting like you're eating mud wrapped in plastic, I'm actually excited to eat them like any regular snack. They have over 57,000 reviews, a ton of different flavors, at least 17 grams of protein per bar, low sugar, gluten-free, low calorie count. Basically, they beat out all their competitors in almost every single aspect while tasting the best.
It is to die for.
I eat these when I need a break from work, when I go to train jujitsu, and I absolutely love them. So when they reached out to sponsor this video, I knew I had to share this healthy deliciousness with you guys. And for a limited time, Built Bar is offering you guys 20% off your first purchase when you go to BuiltBar.com and use code JakeTrend20. So take care of that 1 second meat you get in the slide by pausing the video and going to BuiltBar.com with the code JakeTrend20 with the link in the video description. Like the example we went over, the main reason why people hire lobbyists is to get the government to stop doing something, or to get the government to do something that would benefit them. This could be to keep the government from harming your business, like how big tech spent nearly $500 million on lobbying in the past decade, or it could be foreign powers wanting to get their foot in the door with important politicians in Capitol Hill. They hire lobbyists to make that introduction. Those same foreign powers might want lobbyists to keep the US from messing with their economy. There are also unions and coalitions of all sorts that want to protect their interests from the government. Those same unions, corporations, and individuals also use lobbyists to go after government handouts. And my personal favorite, you can use the government to get an advantage over your competitors, like Amazon, who pushed for a higher minimum wage in the name of workers' rights, when they were really automating their low-wage jobs with robots anyways and wanted to squeeze their competitors.
And so effective November 1st, we are also establishing a new Amazon minimum wage of $15 an hour.
Who does Amazon pay to do this? That's right, lobbyists. We have an entire video on this exact subject of crony capitalism linked in the description. Whatever the reason is, this is why lobbying is so big. And if you're wondering why a person will want to be a slimy lobbyist in the first place, well, the idea of getting the government off the people's backs or getting the government to help people can sound appealing to some people. And the potential for fat paychecks is also nice. If you decide to hire a lobbyist, be prepared to pay because the top lobbying firms can charge as much as $50,000 per month. And since you're probably not going to see results right away, that monthly retainer is going to add up. The most notorious lobbyist, Jack Abramoff, charged each client as high as $180,000 a month. That's over $2 million if just one client stays for a year. So let's say you want to make that kind of money as a lobbyist, or you want to hire one yourself. What exactly do they do?
Power is a lot like real estate. It's all about location, location, location. The closer you are to the source, the higher your property value.
In business, people sell goods and services. In DC, lobbyists sell ideas. Not just any ideas, but the ideas their clients want them to sell. Your clients are outsourcing influence into your hands. Our system of politicians is made up of just that. Humans. And humans can be weak and corruptible, so that's what we prey on. Contrary to popular belief, lobbyists rarely ever just barge into a room, slap a bunch of cash on the desk, and call it a day. No, for the most part, politicians today can't risk getting exposed and going to prison for taking direct bribes. So selling ideas takes a more subtle psychological approach. In fact, if you do it right, politicians will never even realize they're being legally bribed.
It just doesn't work that way. Human nature says that I'm going to be more willing to help you out if I view you as a friend and if I view you as a partner.
The last thing you want to do is scream and yell at these politicians about how if you don't support this bill, you're evil and gonna go to hell. Why? Because there's a difference between being heard and being agreed with. It goes against human nature. If someone is screaming at you, calling you names, would you want to listen to them?
And for somebody to come in and tell somebody, A, what to do, and to say it's my way or the highway, it gets such a negative reaction from members of Congress.
But at the same time, the conversation is almost never just give me $100,000 and I'll vote this way.
We can make this problem go away before it becomes a more expensive problem.
Are you trying to solicit a bribe from me?
It's more of a friend doing a friend a favor kind of thing. Here's what that notorious lobbyist Jack Abramoff had to say about it.
Normally, there's never a conversation like that. There's, I'm your friend, you're my friend, what do you need? You know, oh, well, I'm trying to raise $1 million to make sure I get reelected. Okay, I'll take care of $300,000. I'll throw a fundraiser, don't worry about it. Okay, great, Jack. What do you need? Well, I've got clients that got these interests. Oh, I think I can be helpful on that. That's the discussion.
No matter who you are, if someone does something for you without asking, you're gonna be compelled to return the favor in order to maintain your self-image as a fair, just person. That is what you're betting on to sway politicians in your client's favor.
Jack Abramoff's guilty plea to charges of tax evasion, conspiracy, and fraud could spell trouble for some of Washington's top power brokers.
On January 2006, Jack Abramoff was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison for conspiracy to bribe public officials, tax evasion, and mail fraud. Jack and his friends charged their Native American tribe clients an estimated $85 million, a royal ripoff. They were accused of secretly splitting multi-million-dollar profits, illegally giving gifts and campaign donations in exchange for votes and legislation, and they were even accused of secretly lobbying against their own clients in order to get them to pay more money to them to combat this perceived threat. Pretty clever. Jack paid over $1 million per year for 4 skyboxes at major sports arenas to entertain his political friends in return for favors. He also co-owned a fancy restaurant called Signatures, which in my mind conjures up images of that generic store brand Signature Select, as another place to take his political friends to lavish them with expensive meals. He even paid for multiple golfing trips to Scotland for a few politicians. Needless to say, when all this information came out, Jack became the poster child for everything wrong with big money in politics. Much like how Martin Shkreli became the poster child for everything wrong with Big Pharma. The problem is, if he was the biggest and most evil person in DC, when he finally went to prison, why didn't corruption end? Kinda like how only one banker went to jail for the 2008 financial crisis.
The lobbying culture mixes money and power, and that can be dangerous. But is Abramoff an exception, or is he just a lobbyist who figured out a way to game the system and then got caught?
Sure, we had someone to crucify and blame, reforms were passed, but those same reforms were written by the very people it was trying to regulate. So if Jack wasn't the problem, if reforms didn't fix anything, then what is the cure? Everyone cringes at the thought of dirty special interest groups and lobbyists. But are they the only problem? Are they the only ones in Washington with special interests? After all, the only thing that gives these evil lobbyists any power, the only thing that allows them to charge $50,000 per month, the only thing that motivates good and bad special interest groups to dump money into Capitol Hill, is because of the simple fact that politicians have power to be bought in the first place. Going back to that first example of the picture frame company that senator really just wanted to take down, Who's at fault? Who is the immoral one? The picture frame company trying to stay in business by hiring a lobbyist? The lobbyist for being friends with politicians that can save the business? Or the politicians themselves for starting this whole transaction in the first place? The bigger the government gets, the more potential for corruption there is. And the more potential for corruption there is to be bought, the more lobbyists will be lining up to collect that monthly retainer. And if you think that's true, the more powerful the government, the more corruption there is to be bought, then shouldn't the blame fall at least partially on us for giving these politicians this much power to begin with? Now, there is a valid argument that politicians need at least some power to stop industries from polluting, to keep things like the tobacco industry in check, which is valid. Just know that if you believe in that, you're gonna have to accept that big money will always be a part of big politics. The biggest lobbying group in DC is the US Chamber of Commerce, which spent a nice $77 million in 2019 alone. Now, to be clear, the US Chamber of Commerce is not a branch of the US government, even though it sounds like one. Very clever branding if you ask me. With the next biggest spender being the Open Society Policy Center, which spent $48 million in 2019. Third place belongs to the National Association of Realtors, then Big Pharma. And if we go down the list a little more, we have Amazon in 9th place with Facebook right behind it in 10th place, and Google in 19th place at almost $13 million. Not surprising being that those big tech giants have all faced many severe threats from Capitol Hill over the years. Now, these may sound like huge unfair numbers that the common man would never be able to compete with, but as we talked about earlier, how much of this is on us? There are around 200 million adults in the US. Take away 10% of that 200 million for less fortunate people and you're left with 180 million adults. Now, unless you're living on the streets, you can probably afford to donate $1 a year to causes or lobbying groups that fight for your special interests. You know what? I take that back because beggars on the streets can actually make a ton of tax-free money.
I just begged for an hour, but I did well. If I did this for an 8-hour day, I would have made 90 bucks. 23,000 for a year. Tax-free.
But I digress. If 180 million adults donated $1 to lobbyists of their choice per year, not per month, that's $180 million, putting the people at the top of the biggest spenders list. In fact, the people will spend nearly as much as the top 4 biggest lobbyists combined. Rockefeller is often remembered as the richest man in history, the king of the greedy capitalist pigs. Yet since he got his first job as a broke 16-year-old after spending 6 weeks searching for one, which he would celebrate as Job Day, one thing he always made time for, no matter how broke he was charitable giving. When I was only making $1 a day, Rockefeller later recalled, I was giving away 5, 10, or 25 cents. Can you say the same for yourself? I know I can't. So before you go complaining about how big corporations rule the world, how unfair life is, just remember, the solution might just be inside your wallet. Now typically, this is where I would enthusiastically tell you guys to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more video essays just like this one on the most thought-provoking things in business, which you should absolutely do. But people all over YouTube have long been reporting how unreliable the notification bell is, including people subscribed to this channel. So if you want to be the first to watch new video essays we put out, or if you want to fight to get that first comment on new videos, or you just want to wait for me to reach out to you if something were to ever happen to this channel, you can join the Inbox Notification Squad. You'll get notified right in your email as soon as new videos launch. You'll also get weekly writings in the near future with no spam and no selling of your information. So pause the video and take 10 seconds to join the Inbox Notification Squad by going to jaketrend.io/email with the link below. And you might as well click that subscribe button while you're down there too. That's jaketrend.io/email with the link below. And check out the sponsor of this video too. Welcome to the glorious Watch to the End Club, where we get a little bit more personal, a little bit more like face-to-face. If you want behind the scenes stuff and day in the life kind of stuff and that kind of thing, you can follow me on Instagram at jaketrend.io. That is enough shameless plugs for this video. Thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome. I've been Jake. I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh yeah, stay dangerous. Stay dangerous. And I'll see you guys in the next one.